𝗪ज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्येष्टारिणे। So this verse is, in a nutshell, this verse Krishna is informing us that this material world is full of miseries and troubles. That's what this verse is all about. It's a lengthy verse, but the essence is short. And the essence is that this world is full of miseries and troubles. Of course, how this world is full of miseries and troubles, that is explained in this verse. Now you have just read. Now the explanation is given why this world is full of miseries and troubles, because it doesn't seem like that to people who have not associated with devotees and who have not read scriptures. So there are some logics given in this verse as to why why do scriptures call this world as 𝗪𝗂𝗪𝗲. Krishna says 𝗪𝗂𝗪𝗲, a place of miseries, a place of death. So why it is explained, sometimes the person loses, sometimes he gains. In either case, the path is full of danger. Both in loss, in this world we lose something and we gain something. But the conclusion is, in both the situations, the path is full of danger. Why? Because if you lose something, then of course you enter troubles and anxieties. But if you gain something, still you have anxieties and troubles, because to gain something you need to have stress, at least in the modern world. You need to do something and you will face stress, and then you can gain some money, and then you can buy something, and then you have also fear of losing that thing. So when you have something, you have fear of losing that thing, and when you don't have anything, then you have a fear of insecurity. But nevertheless, in both the conditions there is fear and anxiety, and that is why the conclusion is, in both the cases, either loss or gain, the path is full of danger. And then it is also said, sometimes conditioned soul is separated from his father by death or other circumstances. Another problem with this material world is, this word is word of death. This word is called word of death. So everybody has to die here, and of course that's not a problem if you die, but the problem is when people die or when others die, then we get separated from them, and that gives us a lot of unhappiness and miseries. Especially when your near and dear ones, they leave you, then people get distressed. People get distressed to the point sometimes people faint, or sometimes their BP shoots up, so they have to be admitted to a hospital. That's the level of distress is there when people die. And then sometimes children die, and sometimes conditioned soul is illusioned and afraid. Sometimes he cries out loudly out of fear, sometimes he is happy. So sometimes we are fearful, miserable, desperate, frustrated, and other times we are happy, feeling pleasure, happy maintaining family, and overjoyed and singing melodiously. So, but both cases is a problem. When you are enjoying with the family, you are becoming more attached and you are becoming more bound in this material world. And when you are alone, then we have fear. So Prabhupada says, Thus, everyone traverses the dangerous path of material existence, and on this path, he is not at all happy. So, the point in this verse is that we have to be convinced that material world is 𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗔, it is full of miseries and troubles. It's not a nice place to live in. That's the whole idea. This world is not a nice place to live in. Of course, so there was the song by Michael Jackson I heard when I was a child. So he presented this song in actually Grammy Awards. There was Grammy Award, and they were presenting this song. Make it a better place to live in. That was a song. But that can't be done. You can try. UNESCO, UNICEF, they have been trying, but it is making the situation more worse rather than more better. That's the nature of this material world. The nature of this material world is to give miseries to the conditioned soul. That's why this material world is designed, by the way. You can't expect happiness in prison. Why? Because the government designed the prison to give punishment to criminals. So similarly, you can't expect happiness in this material world. Although many economists and many politicians, they might not accept this proposal, or maybe our scientists, they will not explain this proposal. Okay, this universe is moving by laws of nature, and so we have no explanation for this. So whatever Scripture says, okay, it's place of miseries, they don't accept it. It is made of laws of nature. Everything is by chance, and well, you adjust a situation and become happy. That's all. But no, Scriptures inform us this is designed to give you miseries by God. When it is designed to give you miseries, then you can't expect happiness. But so Prabhupada gives example of this Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. Prabhupada says is the dande jane raja jena nadite chupai. So sometimes when in previous days people were like criminals, they were tortured by the king. So what the king used to do, they used to dip their faces in the water. So that person will be grasping for breath, and he will be very just suffocated. But then when he's about to die, so he can't breathe anymore. Then what happens is he is just lifted up from the pool, and then he can take a lot of breath, and then again he's put inside. So Prabhupada says that materialistic life means continuous unhappiness. But sometimes we accept happiness as it appears between the gaps. Sometimes a condemned person is submerged in water and hauled out. Actually, all of this is meant for punishment, but he feels a little comfort when it's taken out of the water, you see. So ultimately, even the comforts of this material world is designed to give you punishment and miseries, ultimately. We have comforts, you become settled, but then one day everything is stolen, something happens to the things, something or the other happens, and then everything is finished. That's the idea there. So Prabhupada says this is like happiness of this material world. Transient comfort. But even that comfort is designed to give him unhappiness. He's taken out of the water so that he doesn't die, and he'll be able to experience unhappiness or suffocation in water again and again and again and again and again. This is what is material world all about. So Srila Prabhupada says, but actually there is no enjoyment in this material world. It's transient comfort, and that's it. Actual enjoyment is with Krishna. And that's why Prabhupada quotes Sadhu Sang, Sar Shastra Koy, Lava Mahatra Sadhu Sang, Sar Siddhi Hoy. So this whole anyway, sorry for that. The whole point is, it's so difficult to understand that this place is full of miseries. When because the happiness we receive is so overwhelming, even if for a momentary moment. Because we are so addicted to this kind of happiness, we simply forget that this place is full of miseries. We simply forget it. Entire Buddhist philosophy is based on this very concept that this is a place of miseries. So in Buddhism there are four noble truths, and one of the truth is that this is place of miseries. And the next truth is we are bound in this place of miseries by our desires. And the next truth is if you free yourself from desires, then you get nirvana. And the last truth is how to get free of these desires by following the process given by Buddha, the eightfold path. So that's the whole point there. Any genuine spiritual process will teach you that this world is not a place to live in. It's this place of sin, mortality, and death. That is this place all about. So it's so difficult to understand. We generally get so much swayed off and deviated by our happiness of this material world. Even the momentary happiness of this material world is so impressive on our mind that we tend to forget everything else. So Bhaktisiddhanta used to say, actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to give this story that a man, he actually accidentally fell down in the well, and he saw on the bottom of the well there were millions of snakes. But when he was falling, he just caught hold of a branch of a tree, and he was hanging in the air, in the well. He was not on the floor, he was not on the top. In the well he was hanging, catching the stem of a tree. Now he's in a problem because in the well there are so many snakes. If he goes down, he dies because of snake bite. If he goes out, then there were tigers and leopards all around the well. So they could have eaten him. So he can't go inside and he can't go out. So what to do? He was just hanging. But suddenly he saw a beehive on the top of him, on another branch of the tree. So somehow nectar started to drop. So what to do? How to realize that this world is full of miseries? That's the challenge there. Our senses are so strong, we feel so much sense gratification. Even after so many years of devotion, we are simply not convinced that this world is full of miseries. Why we are not convinced? How can I tell we are not convinced? Because we are doing sense gratification. Now a person who knows, we know that the water in drainage, that's not good. Drain water is not good. So especially civil drainage. That's absolutely not good. It's sewage. So none of us will like to drink sewage water. Am I right? Nobody will like to drink sewage water because we're convinced it's bad. Smell is bad, it's bad for health, there's so many bacteria, it's so unclean. Even in our dreams we will not drink sewage water. But then how come we are enjoying this in material world, even after becoming devotees? Srila Prabhupada says this material world is like a stool, and we like to eat stool. So how is that? We know this is stool, we know this is nonsense, but still we like to eat this stool. Now this is a mysterious phenomenon. Let me put it like that. This means that we are not convinced this place is not fit to live in. We still want to live in, we still want to enjoy. We are weak and we forget all these things, and then we just tend to do sense gratification. So to the degree we do sense gratification, to that degree we have not understood that this place is full of miseries and not a fit place to live in. That's so that is a mathematical equation. So you can't say that, oh, actually I know this place is full of material miseries, and then you're watching television, you're drinking, you're eating outside food stuff and blah blah blah, and you're enjoying this material world. Then it makes no sense. You're speaking something, but you're doing something else. It's like you are saying, so I want to go from Charlotte to New York. Suppose if you're saying that, okay, but you catch a flight to Las Vegas. So how do you reach New York? You're going the other way around. That's the whole idea. So most of us are actually diabolical. Let me put it like that. We speak something, say something, we believe something else, we understand something else, we write something else. It's a simply mad situation. But Srila Prabhupada says this situation with conditioned soul can be treated by association with devotees and saintly person. If we associate with good devotees who are convinced that this material world is full of miseries, how do we know that they're convinced that this material world is full of miseries? By seeing their actions. What do we see in their actions? That they will not be involved in sense gratification. Then we will be convinced that they really understand. So these people, these sadhus we associate. Sadhu sang sar shastra koi. The very word sadhu means gentleman. The very word sadhu means gentleman. And gentleman means a person whose senses are controlled. That's what Manu Samhita explains. So the advice is associate with those people whose senses are controlled, who really, to the depth of their soul, to the core of their soul, they understand that actually this place is not a place to live in. It's not a good place. I mean to say, who wants to? In America, you might feel it's a good place. It's a different thing. If you really want to realize it's not a good place to live in, come to India and live somewhere, maybe in Shahadra or some place. Actually, this is important. You see, Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur, he didn't used to live in gorgeous palaces. He was invited many times. He was invited by kings and rich people, but he never visited them. Once or twice he might have, but he often didn't visit them. He used to live in Mutt, his temple, and in very simple living there. And he didn't used to open windows and doors. He used to keep them shut because one devotee came and he was Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he was chanting. He was like close to him. I think it was Kunjda Babu. He came, Kunj Bihari, and he came and Kunj Bihari was very close to Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur. So he came and he said to Bhaktivedanta, please open the window, it's so dark and hot, and let some fresh air come in. Bhaktivedanta said, no, don't open the window, otherwise I will mistakenly think that this material world is a place to live in. It's a good place. If some fresh air and sunlight comes in the room. So that devotee, I think Kunj Bihari, he was very disturbed. He said, come on, this is philosophy and this is something else. It's so messed up in the room. So he himself stood up and opened the window. He was very close to Bhaktivedanta. He could do that. He opened the window. He said, no, you please keep quiet. And he opened the window. Why are you suffering here? So he played the obeisance. He was leaving, and when he reached the door, he was about to close the door behind him. He saw in the back again the window was closed. Bhaktivedanta got up and closed the window. That's the point. He said then afterwards, the next day he gave a lecture and he said, don't make your life comfortable. Otherwise you will fall in this error that this material world is a good place. So don't make your life comfortable. Don't even make your life completely frustrating, otherwise you'll not be able to do devotion. But live simply, that's all, so that you don't fall in illusion that, oh, it's such a nice place and it's such good and everything is nice here. It's very easy to be seduced by illusion and think that, well, there's no problem in my life. Everything is good. My home is good. family is good, my job is good, my pay is good, everything is good. So it's up to us. We have to, actually it is said, Krishna consciousness means the art of culturing, nourishing good spiritual thoughts. That's Krishna consciousness. We are trying to make our life in such a way so that we can nurture these thoughts which are given by scriptures. And then slowly we will be able to see how this material world is actually full of miseries. And we will never forget. Even if Srila Prabhupada was living, and Srila Prabhupada lived in America, I would say, so in the initial days of Iskcon when he was in America, his devotees, his disciples used to actually keep him in very gorgeous places, very pompous, very gorgeous places. His room was very big and very gorgeous. But Prabhupada never fell into this error of thinking it's a good place. So why, the question is why Srila Prabhupada remembers this and why do we forget? Why we do forget these things? And how can Srila Prabhupada remember this? And it all depends on the chanting of holy names and the purity of heart. The more we, actually that's very important. If we chant properly, by the power of holy name we will be able to remember the real nature of this material world. If we don't chant properly, by illusion we will be confused. We will become confused. And that is why you see many devotees, Kunti Maharani prays, let the troubles come in my life again and again. Why? Because she knows that when there are no troubles, there is a tendency to actually forget Krishna and forget reality. And that is why in scriptures there is a sukta which is called as Dukh Sukta, where Dukh, miseries are being glorified. And there are some verses in which this material world is glorified. Why? Because this material world and miseries of this material world, they are helping us to actually surrender to Krishna. So in this sense, they are actually glorified. That they are serving us, they are helping us to approach Krishna. Anything that helps us to approach Krishna, that is good in one sense. So even lust, anger, enviousness, in one sense that is also good. Because due to lust, envy, anger, all these negative things, our mind becomes frustrated and then we seek Krishna. We come to a shelter so that we can get little peace and happiness. And so that's the point. So then this means they are helping. And that is why one of the great poets of Islam, he said, invite lust, anger and envy in your room. Invite them. And when they will leave, they will make your room more cleaner than before. That's a very nice idea. So they are our guests, they are not our enemies. They come, we resist them, and when they leave, we become more stronger than before. But that we can resist them only when we are with God. If we are not with God, then they will actually lead us down to hell. That's all. So for a devotee, devotee understands in the association of other devotees who are strong, who understand all these points. We can understand gradually that yes, this place, Srila Prabhupada says it's a rotten place, it's a nonsense place. So many adjectives Prabhupada used for this material world. It's rotten, it's nonsense, it's stool. And it is actually. So who wants to live in slums? Everybody wants to live in cities and good houses. So this whole material world is like a slum. We want to go back to spiritual world and live there with Krishna. That should be a cherished desire. That was a desire of Raghunath Das Goswami. He wanted to stay in the service of Radha and Krishna. That was his desire. He wanted to stay on the bank of Radha Kunds. And Shyam Kund, that was his sole desire. He didn't want anything else from God. Although Krishna would have given him anything, whatever he would have desired, but he didn't. He was simply interested to stay in Vrindavan in association with devotees. And that's why Prabhupada says, all members of Krishna Conscious Society must themselves be perfect sadhus in order to give a chance to fallen conditioned souls. This is the best humanitarian work. So we think humanitarian work is actually giving food or giving blankets or putting some camps. That's not humanitarian work. Humanitarian work is, Prabhupada says, is to become perfect devotees. Best humanitarian work is to become pure devotee. Because if you become pure devotee, then other people will actually, so this will give a chance to other fallen conditioned souls to come in devotion. So that is the best humanitarian work. To improve ourselves, that is the best humanitarian work. Because that will inspire others to actually take to Krishna consciousness. Isn't it? So that's the point of this whole verse here. I think I should. Yeah, I think I'll end up here because I have another class now. So, is there any questions here? And I am also a little sick today. That's the point.